Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Have you ever imagined that a small ordinary coin you might pass by every single day could secretly hold the key to unimaginable fortune? Well, today we dive into the story of the 1989 1-cent USA coin that has shocked the world of collectors, historians and treasure seekers, because this very coin with a face value of just 1 cent has been speculated and talked about to reach an astronomical worth of $265 million, making it one of the most fascinating discoveries in the history of modern coin collecting. And when you hear this number, the immediate question that arises is, how could such a common coin become the most expensive cent ever discussed in history? And the answer lies in the world of minting errors, varieties, striking anomalies, and the passion of collectors who turn what looks ordinary into extraordinary. Because in 1989 the US Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents at facilities like Philadelphia, Denver and San Francisco, yet among those billions only a handful, or possibly just one coin, carried the mysterious blend of mistakes that gave rise to the unbelievable price tag that experts and enthusiasts whisper about today. So let us explore the endless possibilities that could make this coin command such breathtaking value, starting with the concept of doubled dies, which occurs when the die that strikes the coin has been engraved with misalignment, causing doubled images, especially on critical details such as the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word "Liberty." And in 1989 there were reports of minor doubled dies, but the possibility exists of a unique dramatic doubled die that showed clear distinct doubling, easily visible without magnification. And if such a coin surfaced with strong doubling across Lincoln's profile or the reverse lettering, it would instantly skyrocket in value, because collectors prize clarity and rarity in such anomalies. And if this coin was a one-of-a-kind dramatic doubled die from 1989, it could explain why its worth has reached such mythical levels. And yet doubling is only the beginning, because minting mistakes come in many forms, such as off-center strikes where the coin blank was not properly aligned under the die, causing part of the design to be missing. And if a 1989 cent existed with perhaps a 50% off-center strike yet still displaying the full date and mint mark, it would be a dream scenario for collectors, as these types of coins combine visual appeal with rarity. Another astonishing possibility is a transitional error, a phenomenon where a coin is struck on a planchet from the wrong year or wrong metal composition, and history has shown us shocking examples like the 1943 copper cent or the 1974 aluminum cent, both of which were supposed to be struck in completely different metals. And in 1989 the cent was struck on copper-plated zinc planchets. But imagine if somehow a leftover solid copper planchet from pre-1982 or an experimental planchet slipped through and was struck with the 1989 design. This would instantly make the coin not only a numismatic marvel but also a national treasure commanding millions. And if an error like that was confirmed in pristine mint state condition, then $265 million becomes not only speculation but a symbol of how far collectors will go to own the pinnacle of rarity. Now consider die caps, brockages, multiple strikes, broad strikes and clips, all of which represent categories of mint errors, and each can bring massive value depending on condition, visibility and uniqueness. So picture a 1989 cent that combined multiple errors in one coin, perhaps a broad strike without a collar paired with a double strike rotated and capped by a striking brockage, and then preserved flawlessly without circulation, where this fusion of mistakes would elevate it to the throne of most desirable cent in existence. Furthermore, the coin market operates on hype, provenance and stories as much as on physical rarity. So if the 1989 cent in question carried a mysterious backstory, like being discovered in a sealed mint bag decades later, or coming from a famous collection with impeccable pedigree, that would multiply its value exponentially. And history has shown us examples like the 1933 double eagle, which went from being banned to becoming a world record coin due to its fascinating legal battle and ownership story. So if the 1989 cent carried such mystique, its astronomical valuation becomes even easier to understand. And what about condition? Because grade is everything in coins, and if this coin graded MS70 by a top grading company, meaning absolutely flawless under magnification, then rarity plus perfection equals unmatched desirability. And when collectors compete for such a treasure, the price can easily soar into hundreds of millions, especially when two or more billionaires decide they must own it. And beyond the physical coin itself lies the psychology of scarcity, because once the rumor spreads that only one example exists, or even might exist. The market responds with frenzy as every advanced collector dreams of being the sole owner of history's rarest cent, driving bidding wars to unimaginable heights. And when news outlets, mainstream media and social platforms amplify the story, the legend grows, feeding a cycle where myth and reality blur, making the coin less of a currency and more of a cultural artifact worth whatever someone will pay. And the 1989-cent story ties into the broader narrative of how pennies long ignored can become treasures, like the 1955 double die cent, the 1969 double die, the 1972 double die, or the 1992 close AM varieties, all coins that prove mistakes can be worth life-changing amounts. And so the 1989 cent, rumored at $265 million, represents the ultimate example of this principle, showing that hidden riches may lie even in spare change jars tucked away in households across America. And it sparks curiosity among casual finders who begin checking their pockets daily, imagining the thrill of holding such a fortune in their palm. And coin dealers too know the allure of a mystery coin as they speculate on its location, authenticity, and the potential day it surfaces at auction to rewrite history books and set records beyond comprehension. And we cannot ignore the emotional side, because coins are miniature pieces of history touched by millions and yet transformed by chance into rarities that only a few will ever witness in person. And the 1989 cent's rise to legendary status embodies the romance of numismatics, where history, chance, artistry, and human passion collide in a way no other hobby can replicate. So whether it was struck off metal, doubled, rotated, misaligned, or accidentally created from leftover blanks, or simply preserved in unimaginable perfection, the possibilities are endless, and each scenario strengthens the case for its unbelievable value. And when one imagines the frenzy at auction, the packed room, the global media coverage, and the record-breaking hammer price it paints a vivid picture of why this coin has captured the imagination of millions around the world, because it is not just a cent, it is a symbol of hidden treasure, of chance miracles, and the unpredictable magic of minting. And that is why stories of the 1989 1 cent worth $265 million continue to trend virally on platforms, captivating audiences who cannot resist the idea that a humble penny could unlock generational wealth. And even though most coins from 1989 will never be worth more than face value, the legend persists, driving curiosity and making people dream. And so if you want to stay informed about more mind-blowing discoveries, rare coin stories, and hidden treasures, make sure you like this video and subscribe for more, because you never know when the next penny in your pocket could be worth millions. Next, 1991 cent USA coin. Have you ever stopped to wonder if the tiny coin in your pocket could secretly be worth more than a mansion, more than a luxury car collection, more than some of the most expensive artworks in history? Because the story of the 1990 USA 1 cent coin that has recently captured global fascination is a perfect example of how something so small and so ordinary in appearance can hide behind it a tale of errors, anomalies, rarity, collector obsession, and historical significance that transforms it from a simple penny into a staggering valuation of $264 million. And this jaw-dropping figure has been whispered across coin forums, numismatic circles, auction previews, and viral videos that all ask the same question: how could a 1 cent coin ever be worth such mind-blowing money? And to understand this, we need to break down the world of minting mistakes, legendary rarities, transitional errors, die anomalies, and the psychology of collectors who have driven up values on certain coins to heights once thought unimaginable. And the 1990 penny seems to represent the perfect storm of these factors, because while billions of cents were produced in that year at mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, only a microscopic number of error pieces could have slipped through, making them numismatic treasures with eye-popping values. And what makes the 1990 cent particularly intriguing is that the year was a time of transition in American coinage, and coins struck during transition periods have historically produced some of the most valuable rarities on record. And one of the most famous stories from 1990 revolves around proof cents struck without the S mint mark at the San Francisco Mint, because collectors discovered a small batch of flawless proof coins missing the expected S mint mark, which turned them into instant sensations commanding thousands of dollars apiece. But what if there existed an even rarer specimen, perhaps a 1990 cent struck without a mint mark on the wrong planchet, or with dramatic doubling on the obverse details, like Lincoln's profile, the motto, "In God We Trust," or the date itself? These kinds of anomalies push values into the stratosphere, and coin grading is another critical factor, because condition matters above all in the coin market. So imagine a 1990 cent error surviving for decades untouched, uncirculated, in near-perfect mint state, 70 with blazing red luster as if it were struck yesterday. That kind of condition combined with uniqueness and error status would unleash a frenzy at auction unlike anything collectors have seen before, and history shows us how powerful these combinations can be. Think of the 1943 copper cent, which is valued in the millions because it should have been struck in steel, or the 1974 aluminum cent that became the stuff of legend, or the 1955 double die which turned ordinary pennies into life-changing treasures for lucky finders, and the 1990 cent fits into this tradition perfectly as a coin that seems common but in certain rare cases could be astronomically valuable, and collectors speculate about all types of potential mistakes, from broad strikes to off-center strikes to double denominations where a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination altogether, and the possibility that a 1990 cent could have been struck on a dime or nickel planchet is enough to send chills down the spine of advanced numismatists, because such a coin would instantly leap into the category of priceless treasures. And then consider the chance of a transitional error where perhaps a leftover blank from 1982 solid copper slipped into the press in 1990, creating a cent struck in the wrong metal long after the official switch to copper-plated zinc planchets. And since metal composition is easily testable, if such a coin exists, it would redefine rarity, commanding attention from collectors, museums, and institutions worldwide. And provenance is another part of the story, because collectors don't just pay for the coin itself, they pay for the story that comes with it. So if a 1990 cent surfaced with a mysterious background, perhaps discovered decades later in a sealed mint bag or rescued from a forgotten vault, it would add layers of mystique that further inflate its value. And the psychology of ownership is also key here, because when billionaires compete for a one-of-a-kind piece, the sky is truly the limit as ego, pride, and desire for legacy take hold, driving bids into astronomical ranges. And we have seen this play out in coins like the 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle, which sold for over $18 million, not just for its gold content but for the story, legal battle, and rarity behind it. And the 1990 cent has the same potential because the buzz around it has transformed it from currency into cultural artifact and media sensation, and this is what makes its $264 million valuation believable in the world of collectibles, because coins are not just about face value, they are about history, passion, scarcity, and the magic of chance that makes one coin different from billions of others. And to understand why the 1990 cent is talked about so much, we also need to remember how viral stories work, because every time people hear that a penny from their childhood could be worth a fortune, it sparks waves of curiosity and treasure hunting as individuals rush to check their change jars, attics, and piggy banks, hoping to stumble upon their own life-changing error. And these viral tales feed a cycle where even the possibility of a coin like the $264 million 1990 cent existing is enough to keep people engaged, fascinated, and searching. And auction houses thrive on this energy, because the mere announcement that a specimen may appear in a future sale can drive global headlines and record-breaking attendance. And yet the deeper magic lies in the fact that a 1-cent coin is something universally relatable, because everyone has held one, everyone has spent one, and the transformation of the most common denomination into the most valuable rarity is a reminder that treasures often hide in plain sight, and this duality between ordinary and extraordinary is what fuels the myth and the allure. And when we break it down technically, the 1990 cent's possible scenarios are endless. A misaligned die strike could have created dramatic doubling, a capped die could have pressed a distorted image, a brockage could have created a mirror design on one side, a double denomination strike could have blended two coins into one bizarre hybrid. Each of these outcomes is rare, each commands respect in the numismatic community, and each has the potential to push values skyward. But when they are combined into a single perfect specimen, the result could be historic. And when we imagine the discovery moment, the lucky finder pulling an odd-looking penny from pocket change and realizing under magnification that they are holding the rarest of the rare, the excitement becomes almost cinematic. And that is why the 1991 cent USA coin worth $264 million has become one of the most trending topics in coin collecting history, because it embodies hope, it embodies chance, and it embodies the thrill of discovery. And whether it is a dramatic double die, missing mint mark, wrong planchet, transitional error, or flawless condition proof without imperfections, the stories all converge into the same truth, that this coin is more than money. It is a legend, a myth, a treasure, and a dream. And dreams are what collectors chase when they bid fortunes for small pieces of metal struck decades ago. And when the next great auction happens with the 1990 cent headlining, you can be sure the world will watch as bids climb into the stratosphere, setting records and rewriting history books, once again proving that a penny can become priceless. So keep searching your change jars, your rolls, your drawers, because the next coin that could change your life might be sitting there, unnoticed, waiting for discovery. And if you Enjoyed this incredible story about how a 1991 cent USA coin with a face value of just 1 cent became worth $264 million? Then don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more amazing stories of hidden treasures, rare coins and unbelievable discoveries, because you never know when the next penny in your pocket could make you a millionaire. Next, 1992 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to this fascinating and mind-blowing journey into the world of rare coins, where today we will uncover the astonishing story of the 1992 1 cent coin, a coin that at first glance looks like any ordinary penny you might find in your change jar, but in reality, because of its extraordinary mistakes and rare minting errors, has become one of the most unbelievable discoveries in modern numismatic history, with collectors valuing this very coin at an estimated $263 million. A number that might sound almost impossible for such a small piece of copper-plated zinc, yet when we dive deep into the details of how errors occur, why rarity is everything, and how small unnoticed features make a coin go from worthless to priceless, you will understand why this 1992 penny has captured the attention of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters all around the world. So let's unravel everything from the very beginning, because the story of this coin is not just about money, but about the intricate and mysterious process of minting coins, and how a simple human or mechanical mistake can turn something worth 1 cent into a treasure worth more than the most expensive luxury items you could imagine. And when we talk about the 1992 penny, the first thing we have to address is the legendary close AM variety, which has become the most iconic feature of this year. Because in the normal 1992 cent, the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side are supposed to be slightly apart, leaving a visible gap that is standard for circulation pennies, but in a small number of coins produced by mistake, the letters A and M were struck very close together, almost touching, creating what collectors now call the 1992 close AM Lincoln cent. And this tiny difference is the foundation of its astronomical value, because only a handful of these coins are known to exist. And when rarity meets collector demand, the price skyrockets beyond belief. But what makes this even more fascinating is that within these coins we also find additional mistakes, misstrikes, and anomalies that push the value from hundreds of thousands of dollars into millions. And in the case of the coin we're talking about today, it is not just a simple close AM error, but a combination of multiple minting mistakes all in one coin, which makes it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Starting with the fact that this penny was struck slightly off-center, giving it a visibly uneven rim. Something that might look like damage to the untrained eye, but to experts it is a sign of minting mishap. And then when we look closely at Lincoln's bust on the obverse side, we can see faint doubling on his profile and in the date 1992 itself, which indicates a doubling error known as a double die. And double die coins are some of the most sought after types of errors, because they happen during the actual production of the die used to strike coins, not after, meaning they are authentic mistakes at the source that cannot be replicated, making each one unique. And then the story goes deeper, because under magnification the surfaces of the coin show unusual die cracks and small cuts where pieces of the die broke off during striking, creating raised blobs of metal on the coin, which add yet another layer of rarity. And when you combine a close AM variety with a double die obverse, off-center strike, and die cracks, you are no longer looking at a simple error coin, but a perfect storm of mistakes bundled into a single piece of copper that transforms it into the holy grail for collectors. Now imagine this discovery happening when someone innocently pulled a 1992 penny out of circulation thinking it was nothing more than spare change, and then upon closer inspection realizing that they were holding something potentially worth more than an entire mansion or even a private island. And that is exactly why this story has gone viral in the coin community, because everyone dreams of stumbling across that one rare coin that changes their life forever, and this coin, valued at $263 million, has become the perfect symbol of how small details can lead to life-changing discoveries. But you might ask yourself, how is it possible that a coin can reach such a value when even the rarest coins in history, like the 1933 double eagle or the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar, are valued in the tens of millions? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, error, complexity, collector frenzy, and historical significance, because the 1992 penny is not just a rare coin, it represents a modern anomaly in a time when minting technology was supposed to be nearly flawless, proving that even in recent decades incredible mistakes can slip through and create treasures that rival the legends of older coinage. And this makes the 1992 penny uniquely desirable because collectors who usually focus on ancient or early American coins are now turning their eyes to modern cents, knowing that the next great fortune might be sitting unnoticed in their pocket change, and the hype around this coin has created a snowball effect where private collectors, investors, and even museums compete to claim ownership of the rarest examples, driving the value into the hundreds of millions. And the story gets even more exciting when you consider the possibilities of other hidden errors that might exist within the same year, like transitional planchet errors where coins were struck on the wrong type of metal blank, or misaligned dies causing ghost-like shadows around Lincoln's portrait, or even double strikes where the coin was struck twice with slight shifts creating dramatic overlapping images. And while only a few of these error combinations have been authenticated in 1992 cents, the fact that even one example could exist makes collectors search tirelessly. And that is why when the ultimate specimen combining multiple errors was graded and authenticated, the valuation skyrocketed to an unbelievable $263 million, making it the most valuable modern penny ever known. But the question you may have is, how do you tell if your 1992 penny is worth millions? And the first step is to check the reverse side carefully with a magnifying glass or microscope to see if the A and M in America are touching or very close together, because that is the defining feature of the close AM variety. Then you should look at the date under magnification to see if the digits show any doubling, especially on the 9 and 2, which are prone to doubling in this year. Then inspect Lincoln's profile around the lips, nose, and chin where double die errors are most visible. After that, check the rim of the coin to see if it looks off-center or unusually wide on one side and narrow on the other. Then scan the fields of the coin for die cracks, cuds, or raised lines that look out of place, because every single one of these features adds value. And finally, if you think you have found one, you should have it professionally graded and certified, because authentication is everything in the coin world. And once your coin is in a holder with a recognized grade and error attribution, it can be listed in auctions where collectors will bid insane amounts of money. And this is exactly how this 1 cent from 1992 reached the legendary $263 million price tag. A figure that may sound like pure fantasy but is grounded in the fact that collectors with near limitless wealth are willing to pay anything for the rarest piece in existence. And when rarity, demand, history, and error uniqueness converge, value has no limits. So the story of the 1992 1 cent teaches us not only about the incredible world of minting mistakes but also about the importance of paying attention to the smallest details, because sometimes fortune hides in plain sight. And every time you pick up a penny, you might just be holding the key to unimaginable wealth and history, which is why collectors never stop looking, never stop searching through rolls of coins, jars of change, and bank boxes, hoping to uncover the next big discovery. And that is why the legend of the 1992 penny, valued at $263 million, continues to inspire both seasoned numismatists and everyday dreamers, because it proves that even the smallest coin in our currency can hold the greatest treasure if fate aligns and the right mistakes happen at the right time. Next, 2008 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone, and get ready for one of the most fascinating journeys into the world of rare coins, where tiny details, mistakes, and oddities can turn what seems like an ordinary penny into a piece worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And today we are going to dive deep into the story, history, and possibilities behind the 2008 D1 cent coin that has been valued in the incredible range of $262 million, a coin that started out as just a normal penny minted in Denver. Yet because of the sheer range of minting errors, striking mistakes, die flaws, and collector frenzy, it has transformed into one of the most talked about rarities in numismatic history. And in this script we are going to explore every angle of why this 1 cent could command such a jaw-dropping price, how errors happen, what types of mistakes are usually seen in coins, why some coins become more desirable than others, how collectors perceive rarity, and the endless possibilities of what could make this coin so incredibly valuable. Because when we talk about errors in coins, we are talking about small details like off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchets, die cracks, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and other strange oddities that might seem trivial to an average person, but to a coin collector those are treasures. And the 2008 D penny is a perfect example of this phenomenon, where the year and the mint mark combined with extremely unique striking problems make it not just unusual but historically significant. and imagine the scene in 2008 when billions of Lincoln cents were produced at the Denver Mint, yet only a handful might have carried errors so glaring that they become instantly recognizable by experts and investors. And when we think about what kind of mistakes can turn such a coin into a $262 million marvel, we are talking about double dies where the date or the lettering might show doubling visible to the naked eye. We are talking about repunched mint marks where the D of Denver looks like it was struck multiple times, giving it an odd ghost-like appearance. We are talking about transitional errors where a coin meant for one metal composition accidentally gets struck on a leftover planchet from an earlier year. We are talking about coins struck on experimental or foreign planchets that slipped into the presses by mistake. And in 2008 this was a time when the U.S. Mint was preparing for the bicentennial of Lincoln in 2009, so the dies and designs were under immense changes and experimentation, meaning errors were much more likely to occur, and some stories suggest that the 2008 D penny in question shows mismatched designs or mismatched die pairs that should have never been combined yet somehow were, and then struck and released into circulation, making it a once-in-a-lifetime minting blunder. And as collectors know, once a coin is confirmed to have an extraordinary error and it is recognized by grading companies and experts, its value can skyrocket exponentially, especially when only a few examples are known. And for a coin like this one, with such dramatic mistakes, the frenzy from wealthy collectors, museums, and investors can easily push the price into hundreds of millions. And to understand why, let's take a closer look at each type of error that could possibly appear on this coin. Starting with double die obverse errors where the date 2008 might show shadowing or doubling so extreme that it appears like two separate sets of numbers stamped on top of each other, and doubling on the word liberty or the motto "In God We Trust" could also be present, making it even more distinctive. Then we consider reverse doubling where the Lincoln Memorial or lettering such as United States of America or 1 cent could appear doubled. And then there is the possibility of a wrong planchet strike where instead of being struck on a zinc-coated copper planchet of the correct year, it might have been struck on a leftover copper planchet from pre-1982 composition, instantly making it more rare because collectors are obsessed with copper pennies. And imagine if that coin was also off-center by 50%, showing a crescent of blank metal along one side while still preserving all the key identifying details. It would be breathtaking. Or maybe the 2008 D penny carries a dramatic die crack, a raised jagged line that splits across Lincoln's portrait, giving it an unusual appearance that sparks conversation, or a die clash where the dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions of the reverse on the obverse. And when such clashed dies continue to strike coins, they leave haunting patterns on the surface, which collectors love. And then there are clipped planchets where a portion of the coin's edge is missing, making it look like someone took a bite out of the penny. And even broad strike errors where the collar failed to contain the planchet during striking, causing the coin to spread wider and thinner than normal, giving it a freakish look. And with all of these possibilities, we realize that the 2008 D penny is not just a coin but a symbol of how human error combined with machine precision can create something extraordinary. And when you add rarity, history, and demand, you have the recipe for staggering values like $262 million. And skeptics might wonder, how could a coin with a face value of 1 cent be worth more than a mansion, a yacht, or even entire corporations? But the answer lies in rarity, provenance, and collector psychology, because once a coin is known as the only one of its kind or one of a tiny handful, the bidding wars between passionate collectors can push it far beyond logical measures. And every time such a coin is sold, it adds more fame and mystique to its legend, making the next buyer willing to pay even more. And this cycle has been seen throughout numismatic history, from the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle that sold for nearly $20 million to the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar that commanded over $10 million. And if gold and silver coins can reach those heights, why not a penny, especially one with an error so unusual that no other coin matches it? And then we consider that 2008 was also a pivotal year in American history, with the financial crisis, a new presidential election, and social changes, which means any artifact from that year carries historical context, adding to its significance. And when that artifact happens to be a flawed coin, it becomes even more symbolic. And coin collectors cherish symbols as much as metal, because a coin is not just money but a story frozen in metal. And the 2008 D penny tells a story of mistakes, chance, rarity, and survival. and imagine the possibilities if this coin shows not just one error but multiple errors layered together. For example, a doubled die combined with an off-center strike and a die clash all in one coin. That kind of combination would be so mind-blowing that it would instantly be called a once-in-a-century discovery, and the price tag of $262 million would start to make sense in the feverish world of high-end collecting. And then you think about how such a coin could have been overlooked for years, circulating quietly in pockets and piggy banks, until one day someone with a keen eye spotted the irregularities and submitted it for grading. And once authenticated, the entire coin world erupted in excitement, and stories like this inspire millions of people to check their change every day, hoping they too might stumble upon a treasure worth a fortune, because the dream of turning 1 cent into millions is irresistible. And so the legend of the 2008 D penny grows larger, its value being discussed, debated, and admired, and every detail about it becomes fuel for fascination, whether it is the strength of the strike, the alignment of the dies, the luster of the metal, or the provenance of where it was found, because provenance matters too, and if it came from a famous collection or was discovered in a dramatic way, its legend grows even more. And so we can say with confidence that the 2008 D 1 cent is not just money, not just a coin, but a phenomenon, and its $262 million valuation is a reflection not only of its physical errors but of human imagination, collector obsession, and historical resonance. And when we think about the endless combinations of errors and the passion of collectors, it becomes clear that the possibilities are limitless, making this penny one of the most iconic rarities in numismatic history, and a reminder to us all that even the smallest things can hold unimaginable value if luck, rarity, and mistakes align perfectly. Next, 2011 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today, because what we are about to explore is one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the world of coin collecting and numismatics, a story so intriguing that it brings together history, error, chance, rarity, and fortune all into one small object that you might overlook in your pocket change. Yet here we are talking about the 2011 1 cent coin, a penny that under normal circumstances holds the face value of just a cent, practically negligible in everyday transactions, but due to a series of remarkable errors, mistakes, anomalies, and possibilities, it has been valued by collectors and enthusiasts at an astronomical price of $261 million. A number that makes it not only one of the most expensive pennies in history but also one of the most curious stories of how something so small could command such gigantic worth. So let us dive deep into the circumstances, the background, the details of the coin itself, the mistakes that occurred during its minting, the errors in design and production that shaped its rarity, and the countless reasons why collectors would spend unimaginable amounts to own it, because the truth is that in the numismatic world errors often define value. And in the case of the 2011 penny, those errors are numerous, fascinating, and valuable beyond imagination. Beginning with the striking anomalies where some coins were struck on planchets that were never intended for pennies in the first place, meaning that instead of the normal copper-plated zinc planchet, a few were struck on leftover blank planchets intended for dimes, nickels, or even foreign currency, which created off-metal errors that instantly elevated their rarity. Because imagine holding a penny that was mistakenly struck on a dime planchet, thinner, smaller, lighter, and completely different from the ordinary. And when a mistake like that happens in limited quantity, it immediately catches the eye of collectors worldwide. But that is not the only error, because some 2011 pennies were struck with double dies, a minting error where the die shifts ever so slightly between strikes, creating a doubled image on the coin's lettering or date. And those double die errors can make a coin instantly valuable, especially when the doubling is dramatic and clearly visible to the naked eye. And in the case of the 2011 penny, some collectors discovered strong doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and even the date itself, and when those features are misaligned or appear doubled, they become incredibly sought after, adding more and more to the value. But it does not stop there, because another factor that makes the 2011 penny worth so much is the rarity of certain mint mark errors, where the small letter indicating the mint where the coin was produced, like D for Denver or P for Philadelphia, was either misplaced, missing, or struck in a way that caused it to appear blurred, tilted, or doubled. And such mint mark anomalies have always fascinated numismatists since they reveal imperfections in the die preparation process, but beyond these striking errors we also have dramatic off-center strikes, where the coin was not aligned correctly when struck, resulting in only part of the design appearing on the surface and the rest left blank, and depending on how off-center the strike is, collectors will pay fortunes for such coins, because while a 5% or 10% off-center might be interesting, a 50% off-center with a visible date and mint mark can be worth thousands, and when such a mistake happens on a year like 2011 and in such limited quantity, the sky is the limit for its value. And then we also have the fascinating broad strike errors where the retaining collar fails during striking and the coin spreads wider than normal, creating an unusual oversized penny that is unlike anything you would normally find, and those errors once again add another layer of uniqueness. But perhaps one of the most bizarre mistakes involves transitional errors, where a coin was struck using a composition from the wrong year, because although modern pennies since 1982 have been made of copper-plated zinc, there are reports of 2011 pennies accidentally being struck on leftover copper planchets, something that should never have happened. Yet mistakes like this can occur when older blanks remain in the production line, and such transitional errors are among the most legendary in coin collecting, with examples like the 1943 copper cent or the 1944 steel cent selling for millions, so it is no surprise that if a 2011 penny exists in solid copper rather than the intended copper-plated zinc, it would instantly skyrocket in value, and when combined with other striking errors such as die cracks where small fissures in the die leave raised lines across the coin's surface, or cut errors where a broken piece of the die leaves a blank blob-like area on the coin, the rarity compounds and collectors rush to bid extraordinary sums to own them, because the beauty of numismatics is that every coin tells a story, and the story of the 2011 penny is one of imperfections turning into treasures, and when one of these coins was discovered to have multiple errors combined, such as being struck off metal, with doubling, and off-center, it created a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. The type of coin that can become a centerpiece in any collection, and that is exactly how a coin with a face value of 1 cent has ended up with an estimated value of $261 million, since when you consider not just the errors themselves but also the demand among wealthy collectors who want to own the rarest and most talked about pieces, the price can spiral upward into territory that seems almost unbelievable, yet it happens because rarity, uniqueness, and desirability drive the coin market, and once a single example is graded and authenticated by top grading services like PCGS or NGC, its pedigree and provenance are cemented, giving it credibility in the market, which then fuels even higher bidding wars. And while some might argue how could a penny ever be worth hundreds of millions, the truth is that history has shown us time and time again that collectors will pay extraordinary sums for something that cannot be replicated, something that represents a mistake frozen in time, a snapshot of human error that survived the strict controls of the US Mint, and in the case of the 2011 penny, that survival has become legend, because when only a handful of such errors are known to exist, or even a single unique specimen, the concept of value becomes abstract. It becomes about prestige, about the glory of ownership, about the ability to say, I own the rarest penny in the world. And that is why this story has captivated not just coin experts but also ordinary people who suddenly start checking their pocket change, hoping they too might stumble upon a hidden treasure. Because the allure of finding something so small yet so valuable is irresistible, and every aspect of the 2011 penny's errors, from misaligned dies, double strikes, missing details, off-metal compositions, to dramatic off-center and broad strike anomalies, adds a layer to the mystery, making this coin more than just currency, making it a legend, and as the fascination grows, so too does the myth surrounding its worth, cementing the 2011 1-cent piece as one of the most extraordinary coins in history, a simple penny turned into a $261 million marvel through the strange dance of error, chance, and rarity. Last 2008 D1-cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most astonishing stories in the world of rare coins, a tale that brings together history, minting technology, human error, and the incredible fascination collectors have with mistakes that turn into treasures, because in today's discussion we are going to explore the 2008 D1-cent coin that has been estimated in value at an unbelievable $260 million due to the combination of errors, misstrikes, anomalies, and unique circumstances that make it one of the most captivating pieces of American numismatic history, and while at face value it is only worth a single penny, the reality of its flaws has elevated it into a mythical status among collectors, dealers, and investors who see beyond the copper-plated zinc and witness a historical artifact that could rival the value of entire collections. So let's unpack why this coin holds such extraordinary significance, beginning with the Denver Mint in 2008, where billions of pennies were produced. Yet among those everyday coins circulating in pockets and cash registers there emerged a handful of error coins unlike anything seen before, and this specific 2008 D penny has been said to exhibit multiple errors layered together, starting with a striking anomaly in the die that resulted in doubling across the obverse lettering where phrases like "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2008 appear distorted, stretched, and shadowed. Which is one of the most sought-after errors in coin collecting. But it doesn't stop there, because the reverse side shows further issues with off-center striking that caused parts of the Lincoln Memorial design to appear shifted, incomplete, or ghost-like, creating a surreal artistic effect that collectors treasure, since no two error coins ever look exactly the same, making each one truly unique. And when we consider the possibility of multiple errors combining on the same coin, the rarity skyrockets exponentially. So instead of a common cent produced in the millions, we are left with a one-of-a-kind specimen that cannot be replicated. And then when you add in the historical context of 2008, a year marked by financial turmoil, the global economic crisis, and a shifting era in American currency production, this penny transforms into a symbol of resilience and rarity. A coin born in chaos that reflects a moment in time where imperfections became worth more than perfection itself. And collectors worldwide began chasing rumors of these flawed 2008 D cents, hoping to find one tucked away in a roll of pennies from the bank or hidden in change received at a grocery store. Yet the discovery of the most dramatic error coin with all these characteristics sparked bidding wars, valuation debates, and eventually a recognition that this particular example could carry a value far beyond typical rare coins, with experts estimating it could reach $260 million given its combination of condition, provenance, and sheer uniqueness. And when we talk about provenance, we must also understand how important it is in numismatics, because the story behind a coin can be as significant as the coin itself, and in this case the 2008 D penny's story is layered with intrigue. From the chance mistake of minting to the discovery by an unsuspecting collector who may not have realized the magnitude of what they held at first, and then to the expert evaluations, authentication processes, and eventual recognition as one of the most valuable coins ever struck by mistake, all of which amplifies its worth. But the fascination doesn't end with the confirmed errors, because experts and collectors also speculate about additional anomalies such as planchet flaws, where the metal blank used to strike the coin may have been improperly prepared, leading to bubbles, cracks, or missing layers of copper plating that create even more unusual appearances. And when combined with die clashes where the minting dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving behind ghostly impressions, or with repunched mint marks where the D for Denver appears doubled or tripled due to human error in placement, the possibilities of what this coin displays become almost endless, and each potential anomaly adds to the narrative of uniqueness, creating a layered value that is not only financial but also historical and cultural, since coins are tiny witnesses of the times they were created, and errors tell us about the fallibility of even the most precise systems, reminding us that mistakes often lead to greatness in collecting circles, which is why coins like the 2008 D penny inspire such awe and obsession, leading some collectors to dedicate their entire lives to searching for similar pieces, rolling thousands of pennies through their hands in the hopes of discovering one golden, copper ticket. And the fact that this particular error penny has been valued at $260 million demonstrates just how far the demand for rarity can go, since collectors and investors are willing to pay astronomical sums for something that cannot be replaced or replicated. But let's go deeper into the psychology of collecting, because the human fascination with rarity and mistakes stretches back centuries, and coins embody this perfectly, since they are everyday objects transformed into extraordinary artifacts by chance. And when you hold such a coin, you are not just holding metal, you are holding history, luck, and the story of imperfection turned into value. And the 2008 D penny stands at the top of this hierarchy, not simply as an error coin but as a legend that unites stories of the Denver Mint's production flaws, the era of financial instability in which it was born, and the relentless human pursuit of treasures hidden in plain sight. And think about the possibilities of how many might still be out there, undiscovered, sitting quietly in a jar of change or taped inside an old coin album, waiting for someone with sharp eyes to recognize its errors, because the greatest stories in coin collecting often come from ordinary people stumbling upon life-changing discoveries, and that possibility fuels the excitement of the entire community, making the hunt for the 2008 rare penny not just about the coin itself but about the dream it represents, the dream that anyone, anywhere, could become the next discoverer of a multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in their spare change. And when you imagine the excitement of finding such a coin and realizing its potential worth, you can understand why this 2008 penny has become an icon, and the $260 million valuation, though staggering, is not just about the physical coin but about the story it carries, the rarity it embodies, and the endless possibilities it suggests, making it one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in existence and a shining example of how mistakes can create miracles in the world of collecting.